Hello friends I made this for. My name is Lauren, and today I'm here to give you just some quickie tips about a Saturn return. Just a very short video about where to look in your chart or how your chart can reflect what's happening in your Saturn return, what a Saturn return means, and some reflections as someone who's already been through it. Because if you don't know, I'm 32 years old. I've been through it. So as your millennial aunt here to help, and you may or may not be going through a Saturn return, let me just brief you in. So just so you know, Saturn return is something that we all go through multiple times in our life, and usually happens every 28 to 30 years within our life. Saturn is a far off large planet. So it's not necessarily a planet that we feel on the day to day, like maybe Mercury, Venus, or Mars, those three closest planets, or even let's say something like the moon. But your Saturn return is a big indicator on where there is some important work to be done in your life. And your relationship with Saturn as you go through your Saturn return can be very painful, as a lot of people make it sound very scary, because it definitely was. But your relationship with your Saturn and your Saturn return can help prepare you for future Saturnian shenanigans. So, when might you be feeling your Saturn return? So within every 2.5, 3 years, Saturn changes its sign. So for example, my Saturn was in Capricorn. That is where Saturn was on the day of my birth. And then 2018, Saturn entered back into my natal Capricorn again. Again, this is a slow-moving planet, so it takes a little while to get there. But when it does, it'll have big impacts on where we move forward, as well as big themes we'll revisit again and again every time we go through our Saturn return, which hopefully will be more than twice, right? But with that said, what is Saturn? What is Saturn even about? So Saturn can be a little complex planet, as you know. Hail Saturn shirts in the shop because I love it. I like to think of Saturn as the daddy planet. And daddy likes to tell you where or when you can and cannot do things. Think about the parent in your life that was more, or adult in your life that was the rule maker, the rule setter, saying that you've got to be home by a certain time, you've got to have your homework done at a certain time, and this, that, and the third. Very structural things. But what your Saturn looks like is, of course, going to be influenced by the sign that it's in, as well as the house that it is a part of. So for example, if we're looking at whole sign house, my Saturn is in the 7th house. But if we're not looking at whole sign house, my Saturn is in the 6th. So very Virgo sort of placement, but a very Capricorn feel. It's part of my Capricorn stellium that's in my chart. This will also have an influence on your Saturn. I say take out your birth chart right now and notice, write down if you can, the house, the sign, and what other planets are in that sign, are in that house as you're looking at your chart. These things will be big indicators as far as what the themes will be specific to you. Also, where things are located, the lines, what are those called? Basically, how it interacts. Is it in opposition to anything? Is it a quarter to a different planet? Is it conjunct another planet? That would be the same as something else I said. But looking at all those things will give you an idea of how specifically Saturn is going to look in your chart. For example, my friendies out here that are going through their Saturn return in Aquarius, there might be a lot of community themes popping up with you. Relationships, community, how we interact with folks, and in what ways we connect with the concept of community. But overall, Saturn is going to be a lot of big lessons that set us up for our future endeavors, the work that we do in this lifetime. I like to think of Saturn as the workhorse of the chart, and workhorse as it might not be present every day, but it keeps shit running. And these themes are really big in the purpose that we uphold. So what does that mean? What does that really look like? I often see Saturn return in most folks having a big impact on the structures that we hold really sacred. So, as you're going through your Saturn return, relationships might go through huge changes. Jobs might go through huge changes. When my husband was going through his Saturn return, we broke up for a hot second, got back together, now we're married. When I was going through my Saturn return, I had a lot of struggles with my new job that I got just for my Saturn return, it seems, as a full-time teacher, and the strain that it put on my body and my mental health. So those are structures that changed, that allowed me to really understand my purpose in this life. And when it came to my husband, we not only moved and had all those frictions, he also found a lot of things that he decided what to do in his life and building that foundation forward. A friend of mine, her mom, had them when they were going through their Saturn return. Mom was going through the Saturn return and gave birth to a little baby that became my best friend. So that might have been part of their mother's Saturn return, right? So this can look like many different things. And ultimately, in this very vague video, it's hard for me to just break it down into the most basic, but we can say this. Depending on the house, that can be where it shows up in your life, where it's going to be taking place, as well as some major themes. The sign that it is in is going to be structurally, how does it integrate for you? But remember, both of those, the house and the sign, influence each other quite a bit. So if someone is an Aquarius Saturn and it's in their 8th house, secrets, taxes, inheritance, there might be something going on with contracts and learning how to and not to sign contracts. It might be something around making lasting agreements and how to either do it or not do it. There might be something with inheritance being brought in or taken away. Or there might be just a lot of family shadow shit coming up to the surface for us to really work through. And with it being an Aquarius, the question, the struggle might be how to connect the dots and create a space of community despite all of the friction that's happening. How does this reflect back to the way you communicate, the communities that you're in, and how you are of service to others? Because a lot of people don't know this or don't think about this, is Saturn as structure can be a lot around how we are of service moving forward. Saturn is the ruler of both Aquarius and Capricorn. And if there's one thing I know about both of these signs, is it's all about the mission. What is the mission going forward? Why do we do the work that we do? A Saturn return can show us how there was big cracks in our foundation leading up, especially if it's your first one. Our first Saturn return can show us where the cracks are in our foundation and how we have to build that differently and better based on what we learned through this transit. Now, something to also keep in mind is you will feel, the person going through your Saturn return will feel the most intensity in this transit when Saturn is right on top of your natal Saturn. So when that conjunction happens, you will notice more. You will feel the shifts happening leading up to where Saturn is entering your sign. And when it finally leaves your sign, then you can start to really see from a bird's eye view all the lessons that happened in that 2.5, 3-year span. But while it's in your sign, chances are you're not going to know what to make of everything in the moment. And that's okay. That's definitely part of the transit that is a Saturn return. If your Saturn is in Pisces, that means in the next 1.5 years, you're going to be experiencing, half a year. I got to look at where exactly it is, but Pisces is coming up next, baby bird. So don't you worry. It's coming for you soon. If you're Pisces, a Pisces Saturn, I can only imagine how crazy that's going to be for y'all. I am sorry, not sorry. Pisces energy can be a lot of beneath the surface, subconscious, Neptunian dreams, a lot of spiritual work, spiritual unpacking of maybe toxic spirituality, new spirituality, losing religion and finding spirituality. It can look like so many things. But remember, going back to what I said, it's far out and it's generational. So, for example, everyone in your graduating class, for the most part, unless you're kind of on the cusp year, is going to have the same Saturn. So I like to look at different generations being connected to Pluto. We can see sub-genres of each generation with that Saturn. So I feel the Saturn and Capricorn babies we're learning a lot about work-life balance and what did not work in the work that we did and how it wasn't sustainable perhaps for our physicality or even just the dreams of what we want to make a big impact on. That could be projection, and I apologize. And again, with Aquarius, it could be technology, how we are connecting with one another, how we are viewing the world differently, and how we hold each other to certain standards. How do we fight for justice? How do we ensure that we're communicating well? That is the work of the Saturn in Aquarius sub-generation, I guess is what I'll say. And then we have coming up next, Saturn in Pisces. And then we begin the zodiacal wheel all over again with Saturn in Aries, which I can only imagine is going to be incredibly intense, fiery, and all about acknowledging individuality, which is really fascinating because we have a lot of structures around community coming up before. So these cycles come with the wheel that always turns and Saturn constantly rotating in the sky and giving us new lessons. So advice moving forward, if you are going through your Saturn return right now, take out your chart. Look at all the aspects. What is it interacting with? What element is it in? What planets are near? All of those and more will help give you a sense of cohesion to the experience that is your Saturn return. Of course, you're going through your Saturn return right now, and you'd like to talk to someone with maybe a experience in tarot and get a tarot reading. I have a link right down below in my link tree to my website where you can book a private session, a private reading with me. And I will tell you, I can also send you to some really great astrologers, because if there's one thing that helped me get through my Saturn return, it was work with astrologers that are really, really just wealths of knowledge. I don't personally privately read charts, so I don't offer that, but I know there's so many great ones out there that I could refer you to, or just Google astrologers in your neighborhood. Always support your local astrologer. But with that said, friends, let me know if this was supportive or not. Do you want me to do a deep dive and talk more about what the houses mean specifically for Saturn return? Make sure to put all those questions down below. Like, comment, subscribe. If you found this video interesting, or you know someone going through their Saturn return right now and think this would be supportive, make sure to share this video with someone you love, hate, lust after, and all that good stuff. But with that said, friends, I hope you have a great day. I hope this was supportive. Check out the links if you want to connect, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.